Hello again, everyone. My name is James Shotwell. This is Music Biz, and today we're going to talk about the return of live music. Now, we've done several of these in the past, but there have been big updates as of late, and we're going to talk about it. Right now, we are about 14 full months removed from when the pandemic brought all touring to a screeching halt. And I don't know what we pictured at the time as the return of live music, but I think over the last several months, we all kind of formed this mental image where all of a sudden we'd be given the all clear, people would be vaccinated, all the venues would open up, all the shows would resume, and we'd just get back to business as usual. But what we're learning, and what I want to address in this video today, is that what's actually going to happen is going to be incredibly scattershot, relatively messy. There'll probably be starts and stops along the way, and we're really just going to figure it out through trial and error, which has its pros and has its cons. I mean, right now in New Zealand, over the last weekend, they had a concert with a capacity of 50,000. Which is unthinkable in most of the world right now. And in Florida, there are full-scale arena concerts happening right now. Well, outdoor amphitheater concerts, but same difference, thousands of people gathering to see live music. But in most of the United States and the vast majority of the world, there is little to no live music. And in a few months, that seems poised to change. So let's just get into it. So I really want to focus on what's happening here in the United States, but I do want to point out that New Zealand has had a masterful handling of the coronavirus, and they're actually the country where that 50,000 capacity concert happened. I'm going to try to throw up a photo right here so that you can be reminded of what 50,000 people watching a rock band looks like. It looks awesome. But here in the United States, we're not quite there yet. But there was one major piece of news, which I think is perhaps the most important piece of news that has happened since our last update in January, and that's what I want to build this whole conversation around. So, since our last video, we learned that Bonnaroo is happening, and you can see the amazing flyer here if you haven't already seen it somewhere else. And this is happening at the beginning of September, and Bonnaroo is one of those legendary festivals. I mean, if you're a person that likes music festivals, you will eventually make a pilgrimage to Bonnaroo. It's in rural Tennessee, has the biggest names in music. You can just have the time of your life there. And as soon as Bonnaroo said that it was happening, the music industry rocked back to life. All of a sudden, all these people who are waiting in the wings, maybe we'll get to tour, maybe we can announce something, maybe people won't be mad if we announce something. All of a sudden, people realized, hey, there's a demand for this. Everyone wants live music to come back, and if Bonnaroo is happening, then maybe our thing can happen this fall. And what started to happen behind the scenes is that all these other festivals started rolling out their announcements. So within a couple weeks of Bonnaroo being announced, we learned that Furnace Fest is happening, and Riot Fest, and Punk Rock Bowling, and Hinterlands Festival, and all these other events that we didn't really know if we'd see pop back onto the radar did because Bonnaroo announced, which gave people confidence that yes, live music will return at large capacity sizes by fall 2021, which again, isn't a guarantee. I mean, there's been no ruling from the federal government or anything like that that said, oh yes, this fall, everything will be back at full capacity. But there's this push that's happening. And it's a combination of a lot of factors. There's the people who are just sick of the coronavirus, who are like, let's get going, let's get moving again. Then there's the massive amount of people who have been vaccinated in the last several months and the people who are still waiting to be vaccinated right now. I mean, well over 100 million American citizens have been vaccinated, which is getting pretty close to the number that we were hoping to reach before we started reopening. So again, people are feeling confident. And then there are some people that just don't care. They just want live music to come back. And all these forces are kind of pushing for a reopening. But of course, we want to be safe. We don't want anybody to die because of live music, or at least because they got sick of coronavirus at a live music event. So September seemed like a really good goalpost. But as these things started to get announced, everything started to move a little bit closer to where we are right now. So as I'm making this video, it's the last week of April. And since that Bonnaroo announcement, we learned about Hinterlands, which is happening at the beginning of August. And then more recently, Electric Daisy, one of the most influential EDM events in the world, decided that it's going to happen next month. At the back half of May in Las Vegas, Electric Daisy is going to happen. It got approval from the people of Las Vegas to happen. And while we don't know all the safety protocols yet, we know that there's going to be thousands upon thousands of people watching an EDM show in the United States in the next couple of weeks. And if that's not enough to tell you that live music is returning, let me give you another example. Actually, 3 examples. During the month of April, there has been 2 full cap shows that we know of at an amphitheater area in Florida where both Machine Gun Kelly and the rapper DaBaby have performed to massive crowds who all seem to have a really great time with very little masks and no social distancing whatsoever. Additionally, in Texas over the last weekend, there was a big EDM festival. And I mean, one of the massive ones that you imagine in your head when you remember what festivals looked like, with the giant pyro and all the lights and the crowds and the skimpy outfits, the whole thing back in action in Texas as if it never left. And what this tells me, and what I hope it tells you, is that live music is coming back no matter what. And if you don't feel comfortable going, that's perfectly fine, but the music industry as a whole is making this push. But there are a few things I want to highlight that I feel need to be mentioned here. Now, while it seems that by the fall we will have full capacity things happening, there is no guarantee. And right now, the vast majority of live music that is taking place across the United States is still socially distanced. It is mostly outdoors. And I don't think that's going to change, at least not for the next couple of months. Now, depending on what happens with these recent events in Florida and any fallout that happens, or that festival in Texas, and perhaps most notably, Electric Daisy, that will kind of determine what happens from here. Because if Electric Daisy happens and there's no massive super spreader event and a bunch of people don't end up dying, and it seems like things were able to happen without some horrific fallout, then I think more people will feel confident going to these events. But if news gets out that the people attending these events are getting incredibly sick and that people are dying because they chose to go see someone perform live, everything's going to get pushed back. You see, what happened last year when everything started to fall apart and we realized fall touring in 2020 wasn't going to happen, is that all the people working in the booking side of live music started to ask for holds in 2022. Everyone got really nervous and said, I need you to hold some dates for me in 2022, even all the way out to 2023. And then as soon as the Bonnaroo announcement rolled out and people started to get excited and the music industry saw that people were willing to return to live music, at least this fall, all those people that had holds in 2022 started calling back to people and saying, hey, can I actually get a hold in the fall of 2021? And as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, a ton of artists are announcing tour dates for the fall. But let me tell you, just a little bit of insider secret if you don't know it yourself. Anyone that has tour dates planned for fall 2021 also has a backup set of dates for 2022 because, again, we're not sure what's going to happen. Now, right now, I think people are more optimistic than ever that we will have live music back in a relatively normal capacity by the fall. But what happens between now and, let's say, June or July is going to dictate the rest of the year. So all eyes are on the events happening right now, and it's all about how they're being handled. Now, at some of these full capacity events where masks don't seem to be present, they're still doing testing for people to get in the door. And there have been talks about these things called vaccination passports. And I don't know how you feel about them. I don't want to get into the politics of it right here. But the basic idea is that people who have been vaccinated could have an app where they can prove that they've been vaccinated, and that would give them access to events or to amusement parks or to anything that would be a mass gathering so that everyone there could be guaranteed to be vaccinated and safe. Now, there are people who are anti-vax, who are also anti-passport, who feel it's an invasion of their privacy, and I completely understand those concerns. But the point I'm trying to make here, like I said at the beginning of the video, is that right now it is incredibly messy. You know, do we see what the fallout is, or do we just keep pushing forward? Because as it looks to me right now, no matter what happens, there's going to be a camp of people who are very upset and a camp of people who are very happy. People who want to go to shows, people who don't think it's time yet to go to shows. People who feel comfortable, people who don't feel comfortable. And the only thing that I have to say to you is this. If you want to go to shows, get vaccinated, take care of yourself, take care of everybody else. If you don't feel comfortable going to shows, don't go, but do get vaccinated and do stay safe. And if you don't feel like getting vaccinated, that's your own thing. I can't force you to do anything. But I'm vaxxed myself. The entire team here at Music Biz is. We feel great. We're excited to get back to live music. We hope you are as well. And we'll continue to bring you these updates as things evolve. But as it seems right now, live shows are back. Touring is on the horizon. People will feel comfortable or not feel comfortable, and that will determine when they return to live music. But if you're ready, there are shows and you can go if you feel it's time to do so. Now, this is a hard video to make because in the past videos, we've had all this analysis from experts and people who knew what's happening. But now we're in the thick of it. Now we're just doing it. Now there are shows happening in Florida, shows happening in Texas, socially distant outdoor gigs happening in Tennessee, drive-in concerts scheduled throughout the summer, festivals planned in the fall, and nobody really knows what's going to happen or whether or not some of the further out things are even going to happen at all. And the people who cancel things, well, they'll be back in 2022. But the fact of the matter remains, we're here, we're doing it. Live music is happening, and what happens next will be determined by what happens right now. So look for another one of these videos in the future, but I think it's safe to say we're back in business, and I'll be here at Music Biz bringing you updates as often as I can. And if you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button down below, because that would mean the world to me and the entire team here. And if you've already done so, please continue to take care of yourself, because you deserve it.